Hey guys, I thought I would mix it up a little bit today and give you an excerpt of one of the workshops I taught at the Vancouver event. So I taught about fighting from the extended guard. And in longsword, you hear a lot about the four primary guards. You've got your Vom Tog, got your Ox, got your Plow, got Alber. But you also hear about long point, right? The extended position. In Meyer, you would talk about the straight parrying position. And this is your pretty classical central guard. Point is forward. Your arms are extended. They're not locked, but they are extended, and it makes for very nice defensive motion, easy to parry. And Meyer actually says that this is the best of all positions to fence from, because you can defend yourself the most surely from this straight parrying position. And it does provide a very sure defense. But every position has strengths and weaknesses, and one of the weaknesses of the extended guard is that if you want to cut, that requires a chambering motion. So if I'm extended and I want to cut with any amount of power, I have to pull back, I have to roll around, I have to do something to generate a good cutting motion, and that time can provide a possible opening for my opponent. Ringeck, who is a generation before Meyer, actually has a series of plays from the speaking window, essentially two opponents who are bound, crossed in this extended guard. And he tells you that if your opponent pulls straight back, follow them in and stab them in the face. They try to pull off your sword and hit to the other side, you turn your long edge in and you hit them in the head and kind of cover that cut. If they roll around bigger, you follow them in and you press onto the arm. So every time your opponent yields space from that extended cross position, Ringeck tells you to inhabit that space in a way that injures them. So clearly the flip side of those plays, the message is that yielding space from this position is kind of a bad idea, because every time the opponent does it, Ringeck tells you how to hurt them. So how do we attack, how do we cut from this extended guard in a way that is safe? Well, Ringeck actually gives us that answer as well. In his kind of extended longsword instructions, Ringeck talks about the little wheel. He says that you place your sword in front with your thumb on top, point stays on the person, and you rotate, you turn the sword like a little wheel. And from there you can do all of your plays. So he says you turn the little wheel, you can cut around to the left. And so what we're doing is we're using a rotation of the sword, turning it like a little wheel to put us in a good mechanical position where we can just cut. So the way I teach this is that I tell people, you're going to extend, thumb on top, we're going to keep the point on the opponent, and I'm going to turn like a little wheel. So I'm going to turn my long edge up from here, keeping this forward. I'm not pulling back. I'm going to turn this up, and now I can push my pommel, and this is going to let me cut around without having to retract my sword. So I'm going to turn my long edge, I'm going to push the pommel, I can cut under, I'm going to turn the long edge, I can push the pommel and I can cut over. If I want to go back the other way, I turn the long edge up. So essentially the turning of the long edge to the direction I want to cut always precedes, and then I can cut over, or again I'm going to turn the long edge, and I can cut under. We want to make sure that we're staying fairly extended. We're going to turn, so the key really is the pommel. I'm going to turn this, I'm going to push the pommel. See, the lead-handed arm doesn't have to move too much. My lead arm isn't locked, but it can stay fairly extended. So if I do this facing you, I'm here. I don't want to yield space because that gives you an opening to hit me. So I'm going to turn my long edge and cut around from that extended position. Turn my long edge, cut around from that in an extended position. If I want to practice this on the pel, I can essentially just bind on my pel, just stick out the sword, and I want to turn my long edge. See how I'm staying in contact? And then I am not going to pull my hands back from this extended position, pushing the pommel, cut around. Turn my long edge, cut around. A good way to test this, go slow, turn, make sure that you are not coming between your sword and the pel. If your body comes between the sword and the pel, you are not covered anymore. So make sure that you turn the long edge, cut around, turn the long edge, cut around. Now you don't have to do this from contact, but it is a good motion to have. So even if I'm here and I want to step and attack, I'm going to turn the long edge, cut around. This allows my sword to precede my motion. Turn the long edge, cut around. Play with that. I think doing it on the pel is a good way to do it because it's a good honesty test. Go slow. Make sure that your lead arm is staying mostly extended, that the pommel is orbiting around the lead hand, and just see how it goes. Message me.